It's showtime. What's going on, everybody? Let's see. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. It feels like maybe it's a little hot. Hope you guys are well. Someone drop in the comments, how does the audio sound for me today? I was trying to mess with this because I don't want to be like so close onto the mic. I'd love to be back here if I can. I talk with my hands a lot. I've got a lot of good data to go into. I want to see my screen. So if you could let me know it down in the comments, that would be helpful. I hope you're doing well. And by the way, where is everybody watching from today? That's our favorite thing that we start off with every single week. Getting to know kind of a little bit about our viewers, where you guys are watching from, what you're interested in. All that stuff matters a ton to us. Let's see. Sounds fine. Sounds good. Audio's good. I appreciate it. Awesome. Awesome. Hey, by the way, today is Harry Potter's birthday. If you didn't know, my man would be 41, the boy who lived. So happy birthday, Harry Potter. We're actually going to do a little cake the right way, the Haggard way, in our house today because we're big nerds and it's amazing. So that's exciting. So yeah, let me know where you guys from today. Hope you're doing well on this beautiful Saturday. Pasadena for now. What's up, Chris? Good to see you. Danville, California, Brentwood, California, but future Florida residents. Lots of people coming from California, watching from Davenport. How are you guys? Richmond, Virginia. Good to see you, Donna. I've got a lot of insight for you today. Probably my most researched show that I've ever done. There's some good, there's some bad, there's some just information. All information can be good information. It's just how you use it, I feel like. And you're going to notice, I'm going to say up front that I am politically agnostic. I'm not going to point one way or the other. It's really just like, here's the facts. This is what I see here on the ground in Orlando. This is how it affects you if you're looking to buy or sell here. You already live here and you're not looking to do anything for the next 10 years. And you're just like, hey, who's this guy on YouTube talking about Orlando real estate? That's what I'm here for. So I appreciate you guys spending some time with me. I hope that it's going to be worth your time as we dig into some of this stuff. So one of the things that I thought that I would start out with today is a story that Housing Wire came out with. You keep letting us know where you guys are from. I definitely read all of these comments, making sure we go back. I tailor a lot of my content to where people are coming from and the question that you guys have. So feel free to drop questions down below as we're chatting. I'll make sure I get to it as well. Not only on today's live, but then future events, future videos. I'm constantly looking at making our channel more about you than it is about me, because honestly, none of this matters about me. This is all about you guys, trying to make this something that make you one of the most well-informed audiences on the YouTubes. So what's up from Livonia, Michigan, my old crew? Good to see you guys. Hampton Beach, New Hampshire. Mount Dora, Beach Mom, what's up? Chad Carter from Valencia, California. Good to see you guys. All right, let's get into this. So like I mentioned, the first article I thought we'd bring up from Housing Wire here. Housing inventory slowly coming back as frenzy phase. Historic price growth has harmed some households' ability to afford their next home. And so they start diving in here and they say, okay, based on all of these different markets, what are we starting to see? What are the economists from the National Association of Realtors saying? What are people from Zillow saying? What are people from Redfin saying? And essentially they're saying that overall inventory is up like 24% year over year, and that things are starting to somewhat slow down. Now, I'm not really seeing that here in Orlando. I start diving into our market and I break it down on price points. And I say, okay, between like 200 and 400, how many homes are getting listed? Between 400 and 600, 6 to a million to 2 million. And I'm still seeing prices increasing and days on market still starting to drop, which is amazing because you can't really think that it could get any worse, any stronger of a market than we already are. This is something that I show you guys on a weekly basis. And this is a really great snapshot for you guys to pay attention to, because this is right from our MLS. This is the 5-county area, which includes Orange County, Osceola County, Polk County, Lake County, Seminole. And we're going to be adding in Volusia County because we're expanding over to the coast right now, getting a lot of people, which we'll talk about. But new listings, there were 877. Price decreases 409 though. That's actually a bigger number than we've seen. A lot of that is sellers. I have my own clients. I sit down and I say, hey, listen, I'm a consultant. I am a consultant for you guys. I'm going to let you know what I think the market's doing, where you should list at. Here's your price band. And a lot of them are saying, well, I know the house should be worth 500, but I'm going to list at 550 and see what happens. Not the smartest idea, but some of them do them. And that's when you get these people that eventually need to do price decreases, because although the market's crazy, buyers aren't so crazy. They're like, listen, we got to see value here. So, okay, new listings 877, sold 1053, and then pending, there's 1183, which again means that there were more homes going pending than are coming on the market, which just further exacerbates what's going on. So I do that for you. You guys have seen me do this on where we're at in the market. As soon as that starts to shift, right, where you have a balanced market, where you've got the same amount of listings hitting the market as there are going pending or selling, then we start being more of a balanced market. As soon as you start shifting even more, where there's new listings, expired listings, way more decreased listings, and the number of pending and sold properties go down, then we're starting to shift the other way, right? We start to become more of a buyer's market. And the numbers, the stats here in Orlando specifically, still show that we are in the strongest market for sellers than we ever have been. And I don't think that that's going to change anytime soon. When I look at the people moving here from California for Disney, but then also the healthcare industry that's booming here, I have a couple of accounts where people use my team and I to help people relocate for the hospital systems here. And we are getting new candidates 4 or 5 a week. People moving here, which I know is a microcosm in the grand scheme of things, but the amount of people here moving here, driving prices up is quite crazy. And so I'm going to look down in the comments for a second before I jump into some of the more darker details of things that I've uncovered on a national level. But good to see you guys. Houston, Texas, moving to Mount Verde. What's going on, Andrew? Good to see you. Watching from New Orleans. I appreciate that. Seattle, eager to buy in Orlando. We'd love to help you down. Henrik says it sounds more perfect. I appreciate it. I got the mic kind of tuned in today, I think. Harry Potter still has student loans to pay off from Hogwarts. I think when he killed, maybe that could be. Dude, you're crazy. Anyways, let's keep moving. On a lighter note, thank you for that. We're going to go into some interesting pieces that I found out. So, if you sell a house these days, the buyer might be a pension fund. And why is that important? It's really interesting to see companies like BlackRock, and I've talked about these guys in the past, purchase up houses at a record rate. There's towns in Texas and now here in Florida where they're going in and buying up entire neighborhoods from Lennar and D.R. Horton and builders, and they're basically outbidding buyers by 20%. And so we have this interesting kind of thing right now. And if you follow me on Instagram, I did this whole is this a housing bubble? Where do I feel like this is headed? But you have this interesting thing where you have these hedge funds coming in, these real estate investment trusts and all these folks bidding against normal Americans to purchase homes. And so we're already exacerbated on the amount of inventory that we have. You can already see there's more homes selling than there are going on the market. But then you add this, big, huge person like BlackRock, and they're not the only one, but they're the biggest, buying up properties left and right, competing against you as a buyer, overpaying by houses, sometimes 10, 15, 20% just to put it in their portfolio. And that's going to, I think, cause a systemic long-term issue in our country. Now, they are doing that in Orlando here. Thankfully, not at the rate that I'm seeing in other towns. When I go back and I look at the institutional investors and who's purchasing and who's not, it's not as bad in Orlando as we've seen elsewhere, but still, they're still buying. You see those little ads of Open Door, OfferPad. Those are all basically backed by people like BlackRock. Basically, hey, we want a cash offer for your house. Great. Don't even put it on the open market. Don't do that, because then the market might chase it up a little bit. So let us buy it for you, cash. Don't list it on the market. We can get a better deal, right? They're in this to make money. And so it's a little bit of an easier transaction for you because you can just hand them the keys, get a check, right? But you're leaving money on the table. So they're buying up property. Those houses then don't end up getting into the market for a normal buyer to buy, which then just kind of keeps the cycle going. So let me kind of show you a few things I thought was interesting. So there's a Wall Street Journal article if you want to get into it. If you sell a house these days, the buyer might be a pension fund, and they kind of dig into big bidding wars and all of these kind of things. Very interesting. There's, when you go, let me move this down a little bit farther into the day. BlackRock, this is crazy kind of thoughts here. BlackRock closes in on once unthinkable $10 trillion in assets. And I know this show is much more about Orlando and real estate as can be, but understanding what you're up against as a buyer, and should you be in the market? And still, by the way, the answer is yes, because I don't think that this is like some big bubble. I think this is just going to continue making homeownership even harder. So the sooner you lock in, the better it will be for you long term, unless you want to be a perpetual renter. That's totally your call. Totally your call. All right. Let's see. Johnny asks, and this is actually one of the next things I'm going to ask, how will the eviction moratorium affect the area? Here's the thing, man. So there's 2.8 million people that were in foreclosure because of COVID and job loss and all of those kind of things. There's two things going on here, right? One, I think that a lot of times BlackRock's just going to go, and again, I'm using BlackRock as like a placeholder. There's a lot of other companies doing it, but they're going to go to these big banks and say, hey, you got these foreclosures. Instead of listing them on the market and going through the eviction process and all these other stuff, we'll do one of two things. We'll keep the old homeowner in their house as a renter. We'll buy their paper and let them live there, turn it into a rental. There's so much of that happening. And it happened back in 2010, 2011, when I was listing bank-owned houses for like Wells Fargo and Chase. I would list their property for them and I'd get a phone call. Hey, Ken, by the way, this hedge fund actually bought that house. We're not going to list it. Can you just pull it off the market? That started happening quite a bit in 2010, 2011, all the way to 2013. And then the market really shifted to where we are kind of very similar as today, where you started seeing more multiple offers and that kind of thing. So we are going to dig into that just a little bit more. So let me just kind of wrap out this BlackRock thing, because I did want to show you a few things. So again, I'm apolitical. And so I'm just going to show you a few things. You know, these guys are tied in politically extremely well. And the Biden administration, much like the Trump administration, right? BlackRock was very well tied to Trump, also tied very well to Obama. They were just in politics in general, right? The Biden administration is not going to want to see some massive foreclosure wave. So they're going to partner up with the people that they already know to help that essentially not happen. That's the way I see this happening. So again, it's going to make it harder to buy houses, making it not a bubble. Things continue on. The thing that would stop this is that if inflation gets out of control, and so, you know, you start thinking about inflation and where's that headed for us? You know, are we in this inflationary period? So over the past year, we've seen a 5% inflation, the biggest in the past 13 years, according to the Washington Post and according to a lot of other smart people, much smarter than I. And in this article, they talk about how they don't think that inflation's an issue. I don't know about you, but like everything I see is more and more expensive. You know, gas, car prices are insane. Cost of goods and services all over are insane. And so to me, I think like inflation is a problem. And the only way that they're going to stop that is to start raising interest rates. And so if the government steps in and starts raising interest rates, eventually they're going to say, whoa, no mas. Inflation's here. We need to raise interest rates. That will slow down the housing market. And I think, honestly, I welcome it. You know, interest rates today are still around like 2.875 to 3% for a house. When I bought my first house in 2003, it was 6.5%, and I was happy to get it. And so, you know, housing prices had the ability to double in terms of like a monthly payment for people. But now we're at that point where something needs to happen. And I think that interest rates will start to turn. And when that happens, the market will, instead of going straight up, it's hopefully just get back to normal pricing. So let me get into your comments, because I just ranted there for probably a little longer than you hoped, but hopefully it was good information for you. Let's see. Oh, you guys came out strong today. Thank you. Let's see. What's going on? Scott's moved from Nashville to Orlando. Nashville's blowing up too. Nashville's a cool one city to pay attention to. What's up? Beach Mom has an investment property in Champions Gate. We sell a ton there. Ton. Do you own one investment property? Is it a long-term investment or a short-term investment? I'm curious. It's slowing down. Madame Homes contacts me 2 or 3 times a week to have me buy in celebration. Yeah, I believe it, man. You know, Irish Hammer, I feel like Madame, God bless you guys if you're watching. You know, they thought they had this thousands of people that were interested in their neighborhood, and all of a sudden, and they priced accordingly, and they cut out realtors, and all of a sudden they're like, whoa, wait a minute. You know, 2,000 houses didn't disappear overnight. We thought they were going to. So I think there was a little bit of a flaw in their investment strategy or their marketing strategy. But we shall see. We shall see. Time will tell. Hey, Amanda, good to see you from Long Island. I appreciate it. Yeah, this is interesting. This is a really good question. So, what do I think about dated infrastructure as the economy booms? Most of it built 20 to 30 years back while many people live here suddenly. So, yeah, I mean, I think like you look at I-4, there's a lot of other places that needed to be updated along the way. Thankfully, they've significantly started investing in like 417, 429, I-4, downtown. They're investing a lot infrastructure wise in Orlando. The airport again is getting this massive expansion. I was having a very friendly back and forth. I don't remember their name exactly. I'm going to look it up because I don't want to leave them out. But I had a very friendly conversation around Austin versus Orlando with somebody who used to live in Scott Higman. If you're watching, man, thank you. He was talking about Austin versus Orlando and why like Austin's downtown is going to be always bigger and nicer than Orlando because of the height restriction that the city of Orlando has because of the airport, but that Orlando has a lot more land than Austin. Because I've been on this kick of like, I think Orlando is going to be very similar to Austin in terms of the boom. And I think he's right. And like our downtown's never going to be as tall and as expansive as downtown Austin is because of our height restrictions with the airport, the business airport there. That being said, you look at like some of the things coming to downtown, I think are very impressive. Like here's one I found today. Creative Village developers unveil $250 million in new construction for 2022. Here's kind of the Creative Village downtown. You've got EA Entertainment Sports Studio with this massive outdoor LED screen, which will be very, very cool. You got different apartments, Parcel Y residences. I hope these are for sale. Gosh, I think that would be so cool if a developer actually sold condos instead of just building another apartment. And you've got all of these additional Dr. Phillips Academic Commons, the Union. You've got a lot of different stuff downtown. And for those of you that aren't sure where Creative Village is, I'll zoom out here for you a little bit. Let's see. So you've got, well, this is downtown Orlando right here. This is Lake Eola right here. You've got the Amway Center right here, right there. And then just up from the Amway Center, you've got Creative Village, which they've already started building out. This was a bit of an unsavory kind of area for a while, but they've torn down all of these buildings, making this really something very special. And then from here all the way down to the Amway Center, like this is going to be a $500 million build out right over here. They tore down a bunch of other buildings to make an outdoor entertainment center. It's going to be really nice. So now they're taking both sides of I-4 and trying to expand downtown's footprint. And I think that's the only way that they do it. You know, they can't go up vertically, so they're going to have to go out as much as possible, which causes other issues like displacing folks and that kind of thing. Thankfully, I'm not in politics. I'm just reporting the news. So anyways, let me get into some of these other questions here. Yeah, you know, in the market in Florida is insane considering the homes in my area may $1 million plus median salary of 200,000 versus Orlando 82. Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, also there's not a lot of, you know, the amount of $1 million homes selling in Orlando is more and more every day because you have a lot of business owners moving here, you know, working from home, starting a business here in Florida. You got a lot of like people moving from across the country that are now retired, taking their money out of their, you know, multi-million-dollar home in New York, buying something here for 800 to 1.5, and it seems like a steal. So you do get a lot of that. But in the lower price points, our average sales price really is still like $375 for all of Florida, or for all of Central Florida. So, but here's the good thing is, if people want to attract talent here in Orlando, and if business owners want to continue to grow here, they're going to have to start paying more. I'm there. Like I've got multiple people that are on my team. I'm having to incentivize more people with higher salaries to join us, incentivize people to stay on the team because they could go elsewhere. They could. I mean, I think we create a good environment. I love my people, but eventually they have to make a decision on what works best for them. Disney will have to make some of those decisions on if they're going to pay their people more to keep people and hire better talent. So I think it's a good thing. I think that's a really good thing. Star, I appreciate it. Yeah, those guys, Dan and Byrne, they're awesome in San Diego. They're doing a really good job on their channel. I'm super proud of those guys. What's up, Brady? Moving from Indiana to Orlando in the next 2 months. Tell us why you're moving. Is it for job? Is it for pleasure? What's going on? Lena says, "Hey Ken, can you tell me about Summer Lake? We're just in Orlando searching for communities, and we love the future single family purchase. Geo sold us our townhouse in Lake Reams. Oh, Geo is awesome, one of our top agents on their team. Summer Lake's great. It's a huge neighborhood built out by multiple builders. You've got a big difference in quality between like townhomes, single family, some of the more estate properties by Khov on the lake. So you've got a wide variety depending on what you're looking for. And so I think that's a great neighborhood. Proximity wise, it's great. You know, you've got your 5 minutes from Hamlin, 10 minutes from Disney, 5 minutes from the 429, so you can be anywhere really quickly. So yeah, I think it's great. It's a good area. You have a lot of aging houses in there that are all now like 10, 15, 20 years old. So many of them need like new kitchens, new baths, new flooring. And so, but I think as new construction in Horizon West slows down, because it will over the next 2 years, then people are going to pivot back to where's the more affordable options, which would be like Summer Lake, where you can do a little bit of work, get in a beautiful home in an established neighborhood. And I think it'll be really good for you long term. Evening, Ned Kelly. Good to see you, my friend. Very good to see you. Hope you're doing well over in the UK. Let's get into a couple more stories before we get into your questions. Oh, here's some big news. This happened just yesterday, the day before. So masks are back at Walt Disney World. Obviously, political tensions are a little tight in Florida to begin with, but it's just for indoor stuff at this point. They're saying, hey, listen, if you're indoors, we went to Disney this morning for breakfast, and we had to wear a mask from the time we walked into the door toward our table, took off our mask. So they're starting to be very careful. And, whether you're mask or not mask, I'm not here to say which either one, but like, at the end of the day, like Disney's a corporation and they just don't want to close down again. They're like, listen, we're sick of losing money. And so like they went pretty hard on some of this stuff. Not only did they say, hey, masks are back at all indoor dining or indoor stuff, but they're like, hey, by the way, all Disney they're going to require all of their US employees to be vaccinated within the next 60 days, or you're going to lose your job essentially, which that's, some people are going crazy about. But at the end of the day, like they're an employer. It'll all work itself out, I'm sure. But they went hard very quick. They said, hey, listen, Florida's got a bunch of new COVID cases. We don't want to risk our guests and our employees. So forget it. We're going hard. So we'll see how that shakes out. A couple more stories for you guys, and I'll dive in right strictly to your questions. So buyers from Orlando and California and beyond are rocketing home sales at the Space Coast. See what they did there? Rocketing on the Space Coast. Get it? So it's interesting to see how I did this video. This is coming out actually this week. I interviewed a lot of my past clients and I said, hey, what are some things you bought during the pandemic? What are some things that now that you wish you would have moved, you knew before you would have moved here? And almost every one of them said, I wish you would have told us how close the coasts are. And I was like, oh, I always talk about that, like how close the beaches are. You're like, you're not far, 2 hours away from Clearwater, which is one of the top 5 beaches in the country. You're, 70 minutes from the Space Coast, being able to go enjoy like New Smyrna and all that. It's about an hour away. And so, but all of them said like, hey, we didn't realize how close the beaches actually were. And so for those of you guys who are watching from California, if you're relocating, I've gotten like a little bit of word that some people aren't super excited from Disney to move to Orlando for one reason or the other, because, hey, we live right next to the beach and, on and on and on. Maybe this helps you, understanding that you're just an hour away and the beaches are super accessible at this point. You can find places to park and the water's warmer. It's like 15 degrees warmer in the Atlantic than the Pacific. Anyways, I digress. So this is interesting. So like this story by the OBJ came out today, and they're talking about how basically there's this massive amount of people flocking to the Space Coast to be close to the ocean, and how some of these like sleepy towns over there where like there really wasn't much infrastructure, so people weren't living there. You're getting all these old houses along the beach bought up, and because you could still get a condo on the beach or really, really close for like $250,000 or less over on this side of town. And so like they are expecting the Brevard County, Volusia County, all of these kind of areas to really just like to boom as people realize that like Orlando's not that far away and there's a lot of businesses coming to Orlando, but then like, you want a little weekend spot, or maybe you want to drive in because you work on the Space Coast, but you want to be close to Orlando. It'll be interesting. That's going to be interesting. So I say all that also to say we have somebody in Volusia County now that's been selling out there, Allie. I'm going to introduce you guys to her on our channel here shortly. But she's going to be handling that area of town for us, because for me driving out there and for our normal team members, it's a little far, but she lives out there. And so we'll be able to service that area a little bit more. Here's a couple other last story, and we're hitting right at 25 minutes, which is really about what I want to get for news, and then dive into your questions because it's all about you. All right, Tavistock announces 5 home builders for Westland Park neighborhood, which is the first like big neighborhood outside of the 55 and older community at Sunbridge. And so the builders there, no surprise, it's going to be Ashton Woods, David Weekley, Kraft Homes, which Tavistock actually used to own and now Dreamfinder owns. Anyways, Pulte Homes and Toll Brothers. I like to see Toll Brothers back in here. They're getting a lot more love with the Tavistock community. So they're going to be those 5 people. All are going to be within this Westland Park community. And so for those of you who don't know, let's see, just dive in here. Look how huge Sunbridge overall plan. This thing is, they've got enough land to build for 30 years in Sunbridge. And I'll show you on the map where this is. But their Westland Park neighborhood right here, this is where they're first going to go in. They're going to have a K-8 school, and there's going to be 5 builders. They are talking about they're going to start construction here the next couple months, like early fall. And I think that's very exciting. So it is Osceola County right over there. Let me show you where Sunbridge is. I was telling somebody the other day, I think Sunbridge, they're like, okay, after Lake Nona, then what happens? I think people go to Sunbridge. I think that's the next deal. So you've got Lake Nona Country Club right up here. You've got East Lake Toho right here, which is actually beautiful. St. Cloud down here, and this Narcoossee right here. So the airport is like just right here, MCO. So as MCO gets bigger and bigger and more people are coming in here, the Sunbridge is all right here, this whole spot. And so it's going to be very, very accessible. And I think pricing is going to be much more affordable than Lake Nona in general, but you're going to have Lake Nona proximity. It's going to be a big deal. Don't sleep on Sunbridge as that one comes out. At least give it an make it an option for yourself if you want to be on that side of town. Right on. Let's get into some more questions for you today. Hello, Robert from Dallas. Charles, good to see you, my friend. All right, cool. Brandy says, we're listing our house in Minnesota next week. We want to purchase a townhouse in Horizon West area. My husband's job is transferring to Kissimmee in September, but we want to live in a good public school system area. We want to work with you, and we have a current contract on our house. Our realtor here expects us to sell our house very fast, which most places are. We would be able to come purchase in Florida. I hope we can purchase down. Yeah, definitely. Reach out. Sorry, that was a huge block. I wanted to see what that one says because my eyes aren't the greatest. So yeah, reach out. There's plenty of townhouses in Horizon West. We can definitely help you. Oh snap, is that an infinity gauntlet? Beach Mom, make sure you reach out to us. Just shoot me an email at ken@positgroup.com. I can connect you to Allie for sure, no problem at all. Sorry, you went to Cocoa Beach yesterday. How was it? I'm curious on the amount of people there, because the last time I was there wasn't a ton. Daytona Beach, Cocoa Beach, not as many as some of the more popular beaches around. I got to scroll back up. I feel like I missed. Yeah, I did miss a ton. Christy O said, I'm from Long Island too, moving in December to Encore at Ovation. Enjoy. Shafiq from London. Good to see you, man. Sorry, I know I missed a ton of questions here. What's up, Cooper? Thanks for joining in, my friend. Oh, here we go. So do I have any information on Laurel Point and Toll Brothers? What price do I think they're going to start at? Lake Nona prices going to be driven up? Yes, they are. I mean, Lake Nona prices are continually driving up left and right. But Laurel Point is right off of Narcoossee, right next to Isles of Lake Nona by Pulte Homes, if you guys don't know where that's at. And my guess is that they're going to start in the 600s and go up very quickly from there. Based on the product renderings that I've seen, I don't see them not starting in the 6s. But they are a really good quality product. I mean, Toll Brothers, my opinion, are probably the best production builder that we have here. So probably going to be 8s, 9s. By the time you're all in with structural and lot and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So, AK, the fact that BlackRock and hedgies are so bullish is a good sign for the real estate market. I agree. And like I keep trading off. I agree that they're so bullish on the market that they believe that things are going to go well. They're overpaying for houses at this point. And so, if that's the case, it's like, are they just looking at it from the long-term play anyways? They don't care if they overpay because they're thinking about this 20, 30 years in the future instead of what most people are like, what's going to happen in the next year. I think so many folks are so short-sighted of like, if I buy a house today and it drops value next year, I lost. But that's really not what we should be looking at. We should be thinking like, hey, this is my family house. Even if you decide to move, you could keep that house, go buy another one, turn this original one into an investment property, hedge your bets. I mean, real estate is an amazing industry. It's why I love it so much. There's so many different facets on which you can go. But the fact that these big hedge fund investors are investing so heavily into our area and real estate in general, I think it's a good thing. Andrew says, what's the future of Bella Collina? Will the lots ever fill up? I think so, because we've got Toll Brothers, Dream Finders. There's plenty other like small builders, custom home builders are starting to buy up lots in there and develop lots out there. So I think over the past 5 years, past 3 years, they've really had a massive growth out there. And so, but now that they brought in some like the smaller builders to fill in all of the golf course lots, that neighborhood's going to feel really built out in the next 2 to 3. Brandy, we're relocating. We'd like to work with you. How do you contact? Email is the best. Ken@posygroup.com. And we'll reach out to you, see what we can do to help. Happy to. That's what we do. Jerry says, great camera. Thank you, man. This is my Canon 5D Mark IV. For those of you nerdy folks out there that are into cameras, I'm trying to think if I should go mirrorless. Not for this setup. I think I'm going to keep this setup for my home studio, but I've thought about like going out and like, starting to shoot more out and about. So I'm looking like maybe a Canon R or something like that. I don't know. Annette, don't worry about it. Listen, if you don't have $500,000 to spend on the house, there's still plenty of homes in the 300s. There's some in the 200s. It's just, again, depending on how far you want to drive, the quality, how big, all of those kind of things. Yeah. And rent, Murky says rent is more expensive than owning. I don't disagree. I think that, you don't get the tax write-off. There's a lot of things about a lot of things about renting that don't make a lot of sense, but even more so now than ever before, because I think that as pricing continues to go up, eventually when you want to get yourself in the market, if you don't have something to pivot from, I think it'll end up costing you more in the long run. I really do. Dawn Benson from Leeds, England. I love my UK folks, my England folks. Thank you so much for hanging out with me at 6:30 your time. I appreciate that. Ned Kelly says, can you keep the prices low until after I win the lottery, please? Listen, if you win the lottery, you don't care. Just come on. We'll take you to Golden Oak. Isleworth, we'll find something cool, Lake Nona Country Club, run the golf course, something beautiful. A couple $1 million is all you need. Let's go. All right, let's get down to some of the other things. Here's a good question. Nice thought out question by Judy. Thank you. My son and his wife arrive in Longwood this afternoon from Michigan to start new jobs as teachers. Thank you. Tell them thank you for their tireless work in advance. Teaching is like such an amazing career path. They're renting an apartment for the next year. When should they start looking for a home based on their lease? And can you break a rental lease if you find a house sooner? Judy, that is an amazing question. So yes, you can break a lease. For the most part, I haven't seen one yet. From an apartment to a property manager, usually our standard leases say that you can break a lease, but you're going to have to pay 2 months to break that lease. So if your rent is $2,500, you're going to have to pay $5,000 to break the lease and get out early. So new construction might be their options. If they look at new homes for sale, and then you could basically, hey, by the time I build a house, back it into when the lease is going to finish. That's a really good option. They should really, though, if they're thinking resale, start thinking probably 3-4 months before their lease is up, before they start looking, get pre-approved, get out there, because it could take some time to find a house to buy. And if it takes 1 or 2 months to find a home to buy, and then it takes 30 days to close, they're not going to have a payment due for like almost 2 months after that. So I think that 3 to 4 month thing is like a really good time to think about starting towards the end of the lease, unless they've got a little bit of extra cushion, and then they can break their lease to get out. Winter Park downtowns. Yeah, I agree. Cogito. Did I say that right? Winter Park downtown reminds me of California towns like Danville, Palo Alto, and Lafayette. Yeah, I've heard this a lot. Winter Park is the most expensive real estate in all of Central Florida. You've got a lot of like little mom and pop shops, these little real estate shops, these clothiers, little breakfast brunch places. I love downtown Winter Park so much. And it's not like a small area either. It expands like blocks and blocks and blocks. It's like old paved roads. Very cool spot. I love it. Carlos says he bought a house in Narcoossee Road area of South Lake Nona, north of 129. What do I say about that area? Yeah, if you're farther enough away from 192, that's great. It can be a driving nightmare, for sure. But I think that you're in the spot where people are expanding down to finally go to. So hang on to that spot, man. Good question. So Laura says, other than asking price, what significant costs need to be considered for an accurate initial budget? So I think that in our market, on average, homes are selling for somewhere between, well, depending on your budget. Like, so if you're in the $500,000 range, most homes are selling for like $20,000 to $30,000 over asking. So if you're looking at a $500,000 home, you're going to go in at like 520, 525 most likely. And so you're going to have to pay that delta should the appraisal not support your purchase price. So all of the comparables are 500, but you're paying 525. You need to be prepared to write a check for the extra $25,000. Now, that's not every single deal. You look on average, homes are selling for like 101.5% over. Depends, area dependent, but basically know that you're going to have to cover that delta for an appraisal if there is one. The other costs is like about a 3% on closing costs between your lender origination fees, your appraisal, your title, all of those kind of things. Inspection is about $500, and that's about it. So your down payment, whatever that is, if you're VA, it could be $0 down. If you're FHA, it's 3.5%. Conventional can be 5, 10, or 20%. It doesn't have to be 20%. Which a lot of people don't realize. That's pretty much it. Robert asks, how can I find a list of manufacturers in the Orlando area? Are you thinking like, when you say manufacturers, do you mean like new construction people, like builders and that sort of thing? Or are you talking about like you want to get into manufacturing? If you're talking about builders, shoot me an email with the area you're looking for, and I can tell you all the builders that are in that area. Alonzo said, what do I think about buying a house in Lakeland? We're actually looking to expand down to Polk County with another one of our agents because it is way more affordable. Lakeland's great. Funny enough, like Lakeland was supposed to be what Orlando is today. Funny if you look back in like the developer manuals and like how they developed I-4, the way that Lakeland sits, it was actually supposed to be the major city right there, and then Orlando kind of stole its thunder with Walt Disney World and all those kind of things. That said, it's, Lakeland's only 45 minutes away. It's landlocked. Not a ton going on there just yet. But I think that if you don't want to go all the way to Tampa, which is also quite expensive, you don't want to be in Orlando, or you want to be in Orlando, but you want to be kind of equidistant, Lakeland is an amazing place. And so I think you can get a great house for much less than you can in Orlando. Let's keep going. While I'm reading some of these things, thank you guys so much again for spending some time on Saturday. If you enjoy this, make sure you give it the thumbs up. That really helps kind of YouTube know that what I'm saying isn't a bunch of bunk. And feel free to share our channel with friends that are thinking about moving to the area or just interested in the area. I appreciate that. Yeah, Jeremiah, you thought that the height restrictions to bring more skyscrapers. So yeah, the city council had talked about raising the height restriction a little bit. So I think there's 4 buildings that got height restriction variances to where they could go up higher than what was before. So all of the new buildings are going to be higher than what's currently existing, but they haven't completely removed them. They just gave them some slight variances based on size and location compared to the executive airport. And the executive airport's beautiful. Obviously, jets need to fly in and out from somewhere, but like, man, it definitely is hampering some of the downtown growth we could have. Chad, I don't know if it's in support of a Disney employee move. I think that Tavistock always had this idea of they want to have like the best development in all of Orlando, maybe all of Florida. And so between that and Sunbridge, like Lake Nona and Sunbridge, they're going to have enough places for these Disney employees, but I don't know that they're going to have them quick enough. And so that's why I think a lot of these Disney employees need to be looking at like Hunters Creek, maybe Celebration, up to Oviedo, Waterford Lakes, Avalon Park. They're going to have to spread out, and they're going to have to be willing to drive, 20 to 40 minutes, depending on their budget. Eventually the Lake Nona area though will have enough for that whole like white collar jobs, Disney, medical, all of that right inside of Lake Nona, but they don't right now. And so they need to get on it, which I think is why they're pushing for so many of these. You've got specifically just in Lake Nona, I'll break it down for you. Just specifically in Lake Nona, over the next 2 years, you have Laureate Park 2 coming on board. You've got like 900 homes there. You've got Summerdale, which is like less than 200 homes. You got Laurel Point by Toll Brothers, Eagle Creek by Jones Homes. That's about it. So you've got about 2,000 homes all in, honestly. And so, but those are going to take time to develop and build out. You're probably looking at a 2 to 3 year build out on all of those. We'll see. A&M from Northern Ireland. Good to see you. You said you got a holiday booked for Walt Disney World for 2022. I'm hoping that you make it, and it's amazing. I hope that you just that you love it so very much. Yeah, we do Disney breakfast every weekend. It's kind of part of the lifestyle. Trying a new restaurant every week just to see what different resorts are and all that good stuff. Oh, that's a good question by Danny. What do I think about the older subdivisions in Windermere called Silverwoods that's surrounded by Isleworth at Conroy and Apopka Vineland? So I think that whole Dr. Phillips, Metro West area that's close to Windermere they're already starting to see a bit of a resurgence because you've got these houses that were built in like the 80s and late 70s, and that's pretty much when that whole area was built out. I went on a listing appointment this week with a guy who was a second owner, but he moved in 1979, and the house looked like it was from 1979 inside. It was like shag carpet and just like all types of crazy stuff inside. And he was moving on to be closer to some family out in another state. And I'm looking around the neighborhood at the comparable sales, and you've got a lot of them that are in like the 400s for like these like ranch style pool homes back in a golf course. But then the people are moving in, remodeling them to the hilt, and then either selling them for like $650. So it's a good investment opportunity. I actually told them, hey, I'm going to write you an offer on the house myself. I'm going to be my own little hedge fund and buy your house and renovate it and hold on to it. But I think there's a lot of those areas around Windermere that are like that. Bay Hill is like that, which is like right up and down Apopka Vineland. There's a lot of those Dr. Phillips, Metro West, Old Windermere areas that are seeing this like people flocking to them, because I find that like people from out of town either want brand new construction, or they want something with character. So finding something that's 20 years old but kind of still looks like that brown box is not like what a lot of people are after. So they're pivoting to some of these older communities that have some character to them. Some of these old like mid-modern houses is kind of some of the vibes that they have. I love those areas, and I think that it's like primed for revitalization. And so like areas overbound, especially like up and down Sand Lake area by Dr. Phillips, think about this. You can be in like Orange Tree. Orange Tree is a good example. These single story houses back in the golf course, pool home, but 5 minutes from Restaurant Row, 10 minutes from Universal, 20 minutes from Disney. The fact that these haven't already been completely remodeled and amazing is beyond me, but that will definitely happen. Mark my words, Saturday, 1:44 Eastern, this will happen. Paul asks, what are some things I'm giving out as housewarming presents to my buyer's agents when you and your clients close on a house over $1 million? Paul, I think you're, from looking at your thing, you guys, I think you bought a house from me. So I think but we've been doing custom Yetis lately, trying to do something a little bit different. So I try to think about like, Beach Mom says, please link your email. It's ken@posicgroup.com. We're trying to do a little bit more custom in general for people. I think that's the old gift card It's not enough. That's for sure. All right. Do I think the Complavaro in Golden Oak is worth the astonishing price of $16,385,000? I say D. I've said this before on one of my lives. The market always tells the truth, and when homes don't sell, they're usually overpriced. So whether that's the Complavaro or many others, although our market is insane and prices are going up left and right, if a home doesn't sell within a reasonable amount of time, it's overpriced. So Ethan says, what are the estimated home prices for Laureate Park 2? Very similar to Laureate Park 1. It's all the same builders, same developer, same streetscapes. It'll have its own amenity. So I anticipate them to be very similar, starting in the 500s on up from there. You'll have townhomes in there starting in the 300s and going from up there. Nope to Deltona. Sarasota here. Are new construction builders signing PAs now in Orlando? That's a really good question. So many builders stop signing purchase agreements. They put you on a wait list. There's some builders that are ready to go. So Mattamy Homes in a couple communities, as Irish or somebody had mentioned earlier today, Mattamy's starting to KHOV. Once they release them, they're signing them. Dream Finders is an interesting one. They're like, hey, come to our neighborhood. We'll sign a purchase agreement, but some of their neighborhoods are not giving you purchase prices. So they're like, oh, whatever we decide the price is, when the time to build your house is, we'll let you know. And if you want to back out of the purchase agreement, you can. But people are doing it because they want a lot and they want the location. I signed a deal with Taylor Morrison yesterday or 2 days ago, and they're actually signing regular purchase agreements, but they're doing highest and best on their lots. So it's like, hey, the lot is $50,000. We're opening up this to 10 buyers, whoever is willing to pay the most for this lot. And then you tell us what you're going to build on that lot. And then they have their calculation based on the model home you want to build with how much you're willing to pay for the lot. And whoever bids the most and has the most money invested in it is who they go to purchase agreement on. So it's like, it kind of feels like the Wild West. Cause like before 2 years ago, I could have told you what 90% of the builders were doing in all of their neighborhoods, like, cause they were all doing the same exact thing. You pick a lot, you pick your home, you pick your structural, you sign a purchase agreement, you give them 10% and you close in 8 or 9 months, standard. Now every builder's trying their own little thing to figure out what's working, what's not, trying to keep up with trades, trying to keep up with supplies. Crazy. Danny says, areas for the first-time home buyers in $300,000 range, willing to drive up to an hour from Orlando. Man, I mean, there's, Polk County, Lake County, Seminole County, right? So just if you're drawing a line, I think that look at where's work, right? Where's important to you. And there's plenty of options to find something in the $300,000 range. Yeah, don't let some of these big numbers that I'm throwing out there deter you, because you can still get in for under 300. Charlie, they're saying Laureate Park. I've heard everywhere from people saying that they're going to release them in August, like right now, all the way to October. I'm sure you're not trying to get some of these builders on the same page and give me a straight scoop on what's going on. But soon, early fall. All right, I'm going to go back in here. I appreciate it, Josh. Good to see you, man. Definitely like the video. Thumbs up makes a big help for sure. Hope you're enjoying your new house, man. So this is an interesting one. Bryant says Tavistock, Orlando, and the county need to do something about Narcoossee Road. It's a nightmare. Lake Nona and Tavistock will have big problems if this doesn't get addressed ASAP. So I definitely agree with you. And so here's what's happening is they're doubling the size of Boggy Creek. I know that's not Narcoossee, but they're doubling the size of Boggy Creek. So you can drop down 417 and then pull over on that. That's going to alleviate a lot. And then they're also putting in an additional connector from 417 to Narcoossee. And so that's going to alleviate a lot of people because it's going to come all the way down to kind of like Sunbridge. So if you live in Sunbridge, or even if you live in Lake Nona or Summerdale or some of these other areas, you're going to be able to get off of 417 and skip all of that traffic over by Eagle Creek and the high school and the middle school over there on Narcoossee. And so those bottleneck areas that we're seeing right now are going to get alleviated quite quickly. All that's happening within the next like 18 months to 2 years, it sounds like. They're already working on staking out Boggy Creek. You can see like up and down the survey stakes, so you know the expansion's coming. But I don't disagree. I think you're right. I'm going to grab a little coffee here. Hold on. So Cognito says, given the choice you have to buy 100% with small versus a small loan, what would you choose? So 100%, I'm guessing that you're like VA because that's the only 100% loans that I know of right now. But if I was going to finance or get a small loan, I, me personally, I would go buy 2 or 3 houses, turn 2 of them into investment properties, get small loans on all of them instead of 100% on another one. That's just me. But I mean, locking into multiple houses with low interest rates, I think is a smart idea. But 100% financing, unless you're VA, unless you've got a long-term standpoint and like a real reason to do 100%, I don't think that it is smart because although I don't think prices are going to, stagnate, eventually they're going to stagnate and fall flat. And then that's when something happens to someone's life where they have to move and they can't afford to sell because they can't afford transfer tax, title, and commission. And so if you don't put down at least like 5 or 10%, unless you just can't, I don't know, I think you always should at least put something down just to give yourself a bit of a cushion. Todd asks, am I seeing any change in the ratio of all cash offers to the number of being mortgaged? It's actually area dependent. So some areas that you're looking at down in the resort market, you're seeing a lot more cash, a lot more. Celebration, for example, we sell a lot of houses there. Up to like 35% of all deals are all cash, no mortgage involved at all, which blows me away because I think a lot of folks, if you think these low interest rates, people would want to, they would want to finance something, but a lot of times people are paying cash and then refinancing afterwards because they want to win the deal. They want to stand out to a lot of these sellers, which I think is probably a bit smart. You can always purchase cash and come in, but if you're getting a mortgage and you can't pay cash, don't let that discourage you. I mean, a lot of times you can say, listen, I'm going to waive appraisal, waive some portion appraisal, something like that. And it makes you just like cash. I mean, really the only other financing contingency is, do you have a job in your mortgage, right? So yeah, seeing a lot of cash though, especially in the resort market. So Brandy asks, where do you recommend staying until you win a bid to purchase on a house? Airbnb, extended stay? Can your team help with finding temporary housing? We don't help like in terms of like actually facilitating it, but we can give you a few different ideas. It really depends on the area you're looking. Like if you say, hey, Ken, I only want brand new construction in Horizon West, I'm telling people like, and you need to move immediately. I'm telling people, let's go find you a lease first. Let's lock you in, take some of the pressure off, get you in the house. Then we go off after new construction. The moment a lot is released, we can jump on it. And then from there, you're 6 to 8 months out. So again, every situation's a little different, but that would be where I would start if I was you. It's like, hey, let's get you into a lease. Airbnbs can be expensive. And not only that, historically they've been expensive, but they're more expensive than ever right now because people are traveling here in record numbers. So like average nightly costs are more expensive than ever. And so, stay in like even like just a decent Airbnb could be like $3-4 grand a month. And yeah, not everybody's willing or able to do that. So Beach Mom says Trader Joe's at Winter Park is the best. They've got one in Dr. Phillips too. Right? We need more. We need one out like Winter Garden. That would be helpful. Okay, so Nick's family vlogs. What's going on, fellow vloggers? My husband and I really wanted to get in the Lake Nona area before it goes way above our budget. We risk capital gains cost if we move within the year. Any advice? Well, you're going to have, talk to your CPA. I'm not a CPA, but make sure you chat with your CPA and say, hey, listen, what are our short-term capital gains? I think it's more like 15% if you sell after a year, whereas there's no capital gains if you sell after 2 years and 1 day. So there's just costs. I think values in Lake Nona are going to go up at least 10 to 15% in the next year. And so if that's the case, you're going to be kind of a wash on capital gains versus having to pay more. And so I think you put that pen to paper and figure out which one's going to be best for you and your family. You could start building a house in like say Laureate Park 2, which maybe won't be ready until next year anyways, but you lock in your price, then you sell as you get closer, hopefully skip those capital gains tax. That's what I would do. Off to Disney, will prices fall on established communities rather than new builds? So I kind of chatted about this I went back in the thing because I knew I missed a bunch of comments. So hopefully you guys are still hanging out off to Disney. But I think that a lot of these more established communities are going to see a bit of a resurgence because people will have to. There's not enough new construction to keep up with the amount of people moving here. And so a lot of these older communities are seeing people move in, revamp, make them amazing. And so these new communities are seeing a bit of a change, I think, for the positive. Yeah, I think Claremont is going to be, Andrew said, a lot of growth in Claremont, new planned communities, Olympia. Where will Claremont be in the next 5 to 10 years? I think it's going to be the new Winter Garden. It's going to be the new Horizon West, new schools, new infrastructure, a lot of new houses, Olympia, close to Disney still. I think Claremont's like, if your budget is not so much the Winter Garden or Windermere variety, you should be looking at Claremont. Here we go. So someone mentioned you're a newborn photographer. I love it. The Canon R6. I'm going to check that out as soon as we finish up here. Atchison says, have I had any clients signed with Rockwell Homes? If so, how has the experience been so far? What do you think of their current pricing? So I haven't. We've tried to get people signed with Rockwell Homes, and unfortunately, it was kind of like this interesting project on sign a contract now. We'll let you know how prices are down the future. That's probably been a month and a half since we've last visited with them. But they had kind of an interesting model. I was very, very high when they started building out that neighborhood, and I met the builder, met the owner. I was very high on what he was telling us on how he was going to build homes. And then it seemed like there was just sort of this pause, which felt very weird. So I hope for their sake that they follow through on what he said he was going to do. And if that's the case, I think it could be a very good product. The location's great. That's all I got so far. Piano Wizard, we live in Horizon West. Yeah. Erica says, my boyfriend and I are in California. We're thinking about buying a rental in Dr. Phillips as another source of income. Should I wait till prices go down in the next couple months or buy now? I just don't think that the prices are going to go down. And so being that the prices probably won't be going down, I would buy now. And even if the prices do go down and you're thinking about hanging on to this investment for the next 5 to 7 years and you're locking into a 3% interest rate, here's a question I had for you guys. For those of you that are still hanging out, 184 of you guys, this is going to be important to me to know because I have one perspective and I want to hear your perspective. What would constitute a market crash? What would be your response? If someone said, hey, the market's going down, and what would be a crash? Would it be 5%, 3%, 20%, 30%? What would constitute a market crash in your eyes? I'm curious what most folks think. Jamie, you had mentioned a couple times, am I going to do some feedback about Deltona? I have an agent on my team specifically that handles that area of town. If you want her insight, I know it's definitely more affordable, that's for sure. And that whole area, you're close to the coast. You're not too far from Orlando, the city of. We have a lot of clients that we're helping out that way. I don't have any personal experience with Deltona, so I don't want to go into it too much. But I do have a lady on my team that specifically, that's all she does is that area. And so I'd love to help you for sure. So you can email either me at ken@positgroup.com. And again, it's POZEK. A lot of people get caught on the AK, but it's EK, or info@positgroup.com, and myself or somebody will follow up immediately. I appreciate it. Paige, what's going on? Miss Paige runs our team. For those of you who don't know who Paige is, she's amazing. She's our director of operations. She's crushing it. Okay, so here we go. Some feedback kind of coming through here. So when I say what would constitute a market crash, people say 30%, 5%, 25%, 20%. Market crash is to getting back to 2016 levels, 20%, 20%, 20%, 20%, 20% or more. What was the average drop of the 2008 crash? Good question. I think it's 30% was what I thought it was. Well, let's see. How much did prices drop? U.S. prices dropped according to the Washington Post, looking backwards, dropped between 33 and 50%, depending on the market. 33 to 50%. It's a big number. It's a very big number. So do I think the average $500,000 house is all of a sudden going to become $350,000? Don't see that happening. There's no market indicator around. And so let's finish, I guess, today's video with that, with our live with that. What would cause a market crash, right? Massive job loss would cause a market crash. Maybe, and right now, I don't know about you guys, like everywhere that I go is hiring, from the corporate side, retail, restaurants, everybody's hiring. Every shop that I go in, they're doing, hey, we're doing standing right now job interviews on Wednesday between 9 and 3. Everywhere you go. So I don't think we're going to have some massive job loss. I think, we talked about the foreclosure thing earlier today in terms of like foreclosures and what that's going to have happen. I don't think that's going to happen. Stock market crash, that could happen for sure. I think things are super inflated there. But Google Eugene. I mean, I knew what the answer was going to be, but no, yeah. But think about this, off to Disney. My personal childhood home that I lived in, get this, listen to this crazy thing. As we kind of wrap up, my childhood home, I'm laughing because it's just insane. My personal childhood home that I grew up in Detroit, my parents sold it for like $80,000 prior to the recession. The same house sold for $5,000, $5,000, which is like a 93% price drop or something like that in Detroit, And again, because so many people were getting mortgages that they shouldn't have gotten, right? Right now, we're in this functionary thing of like people need places to live. You do have these real estate investment trusts. Maybe these real estate investment trusts dump millions of homes on the market because they want to pull out equity. Maybe that happens. But like in regards to something that you can actually foresee and actually control, do I think that there's going to be a market crash? I don't think that it's going to happen. So to follow up with the title of this video, if you stayed all the way to the end, do I think there's going to be a market crash? Are there any indicators that there's a market crash going on currently? Are there more sellers than buyers? No. Do we see the market starting to tip one way? No, it's still full tilt seller's market. Lots of people moving here. So interest rates going up, stock market crashing. Those are the only things I can think. But 33% would be the last market crash. That would be 2008 happening again. But most people here's the crazy thing to take away from here today as well. There's never been in the history of actually when they've been recording this, more people with paid off homes and equity in their home as there is today, because lenders were saying, hey, listen, if you want to buy a house, you need to actually give us some money this time around. You actually have to have some kind of decent credit. You actually have to have a job. And so that kind of started fixing the problem that we ran into in 2008. And so I just don't see us hitting that number. So thanks for playing around. Mortgage rates at 6% would crush the housing market. I think would slow it down significantly. Google Eugene. That's funny. Let's see what else. Yeah, I think the costs of ceiling affordability would stop this madness. I think you're right. Eventually, there's going to get to a place where people are like, no mas, like I can't handle it, right? And I don't think this is going to go on forever. You won't hear me say that we're going to get 10 to 15% appreciation on housing forever. I don't think so. I think next year we start to see things start to slow down. I just don't think it's going to reverse course. That's the only thing I'm trying to say. Missed the start again at 6%, 6 UK, not 7. Yeah, it's 1 p.m. Eastern every other Saturday. We did a whole poll on everybody that was watching on like what time would be best on Saturdays to hang out, and that was the one that kind of rang true, 1 o'clock. All right, I think we're gonna wrap up today. I've got one more question that I've got to answer. One is, this is a good one. What do we got to do to get Foxtail to sponsor you? I would think that like if you guys shot him a message on Instagram or something and be like, hey, do you know this Ken Posa guy? He likes coffee, and he'd be drinking your coffee on air. Thousands of people that rewatch his replays would love your coffee. I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? But no, the real question I'll answer. So in the process of building a custom home, hopefully it'll be complete in February. Will lumber prices kill me? Builder keeping us in the dark. You don't want to be in the dark. I would bug them. I'd bug the mess out of them until they give you an answer and lock in something. Now, some builders will say, hey, listen, if you have a contract with us and prices go, like lumber prices go up more than 2%, or prices of materials go up more than 2%, you got to eat that cost. That's something more and more builders are doing, but don't let them keep you in the dark. That's not cool. Lumber prices have come down though. There's a lot of other things going up. Costs of like other materials have started to go up just because of the sheer scarcity. Windows are a big one. And so, yeah, make sure you lock them in. No mas. George, I don't, you always have some good quips for me, man. No more. Is that better? No mas? Okay. Anyways, I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Listen, make sure you follow me over on Instagram. I'm putting out videos every single day about just life in Orlando, different resorts that we're going to, new openings. We went to Portillo's last night. That was fantastic for the first time. I can't believe it was the first time. But yeah, that was amazing. So follow me over there. It's at Ken Posick. Again, please just give me a little thumbs up on this video. And I hope you have the rest of an amazing weekend. Enjoy. For those of you that kids are going back to school, you only have 2 more weeks. If you're in Florida, you can do this. We'll see you guys soon. Bye.